gays and lesbians who did have to fight to obtain full rights and status and overcome a good deal of prejudice so that they could lead their lives personally and the way they wanted to, which is what America's about. As long as you don't hurt other people and you're not hurting yourself in a way that's irreparable and or hurting someone else in a close relationship with you, then you make the choices. And who knows what those choices are? You know, God knows, and your doctor. But when we're talking about something as dramatic as someone going through the struggle of rejecting their physical sexuality, their biological sexuality, first, as a matter of common sense, that would have to be an enormous internal struggle for any human being. And second, in the practice of medicine, it's always been considered, in most cases, not necessarily the most serious mental illness, but an illness, or an issue that has to be dealt with psychologically, psychiatrically. It's going to create a tension between your physical status and your mental status. You aren't what you want to be. That's going to create tension. It's going to create serious emotions. It's going to create distortions, and it's a dangerous and delicate situation. No one disputes that, and no one disputes that it should be dealt with intelligently and compassionately. On the other hand, it shouldn't be made to be a joke. It shouldn't be displayed to children at a young and impressionable age, nor should various aspects of heterosexuality be displayed to children at a very young age before they can handle it. If that shouldn't be displayed, heterosexuality, which is the predominant mode for human beings for thousands and thousands of years, and it better have been, otherwise there wouldn't be a human race, correct? I mean, heterosexuality has a necessity in the survival of the species, right? So what happened with the Dodgers? I think I'm going to see if do we have the video with Bishop Barron?
I don't yet, Mayor. We just need a minute.
We don't. Okay.
We will soon. We will soon.
All right. Well, I thought Bishop Barron, who I happen to know, met him some time ago in really met him at the hospital where my father-in-law died, and the bishop was kind enough to come and spend a long time with my father-in-law before he died and give him the last rites of the Catholic Church. If I recall correctly, it's a fascinating history. Fascinating history. I hope I have this right, but he grew up in a Protestant family with missionaries. And over a period of time, through his study of theology, he decided he was a Catholic, converted to Catholicism, a very serious theology student, a very serious man, a very nice man. And he spent a great deal of time with my father-in-law in his last day. And also we had a great deal of time to talk. And I love to talk about theology. And as I think I told you before, I made friends with Pat Robertson based on a talks about theology and religion, and particularly interested in the bishop because of this growing up, as a Protestant with a very religious Protestant family, mother and father, missionaries. Believe it was in Africa, may have been in South America. Can't be absolutely sure. But at the time, I believe he was the Bishop of Scranton. Just had been the Bishop of Scranton at a very young age. And just exactly why he was selected to give the talk, to explain what happened at Dodger Stadium, I don't know. An excellent choice because the bishop is extraordinarily artistic, very open-minded, not by any means a judgmental person, And I think he explains very, very well what
Should be up in a minute, Mayor.
what the Dodgers have
We'll
done
have it in
here,
1 minute.
which is horrendous. This is horrendous. I mean, you look at this and say, what if this had been done to Muhammad? The Dodgers wouldn't have gone ahead with this. I mean, attacking our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is perfectly okay. We just have to deal with it. But if you attack Muhammad, suppose you recreated Muhammad's entry into one of those villages where he killed a number of people first in order to get their attention so that he could convert them or get money from them, or Quadrash, where he killed a large number of Jewish people and put them in a mass grave. Suppose you recreated that, to warn people about anti-Semitism. What do you think would happen? Think we'd just be quietly talking about it tonight? You think the Dodgers would have gone ahead with it? Or is this religion the punching bag? I'm sorry. I had enough of that with the Brooklyn Museum, where they did a very similar thing on public property. They used public money to desecrate both Our Lady, Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Jesus Christ. Cow dung on her and lewd pictures of him. Here, this organization mocking Catholic nuns like Mother Teresa, for example, for whom I received the Mother Teresa Award this week, so I might feel more strongly about it than ever. Mocking nuns, having them dress up as drag queens, having them say horrible things about themselves and about the Catholic religion, making fools out of nuns, and then recreating things like the crucifixion, which you'll see a brief picture of, and we'll make it very brief. I don't want to show you the whole thing, where two gay guys engage in fondling, and one of them representing Jesus on the cross. So they mock, desecrate one of the most important, the critical time in Christian history. We believe the critical time in world history. They desecrate our Savior. Again, suppose it were Muhammad. Wouldn't be tolerated. Shouldn't be tolerated for Christianity and for Christians and for Catholics either. Nor should all the killing be tolerated. That's ignored in China and elsewhere. Biden, who claims to be a good Catholic, doesn't seem to give a damn about all the Catholics that are killed. Never talks about it. Never does a damn thing about it. Well, do we have the bishop's the introduction by the young woman?
It is ready.
Let's have the introduction by the young man, also the monk or whatever he is, because it'll put it in proper context. And I think the bishop explains it better and more authoritatively than any of us can, because this is a very, very serious thing that's being done by the Dodgers, and they should suffer real consequences for this. I hope the Catholics in Dodgertown find their allegiance to their Lord and Savior greater than to their baseball team.
In a rare move, Bishop Barron has come out with this very hard-hitting video. So I'm just going to play it for you. He just released it on his Twitter feed. But I thought it was rare for him because Bishop Barron tends to be very careful in his videos and doesn't tend to be too divisive. But I've rarely seen him like this. So just have a listen to this video.
Hey everybody, it's Bishop Barron. I'm sure by now you've all heard about this controversy involving the LA Dodgers and the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. You know, the Dodgers invited this group, which I think can only be described as an anti-Catholic hate group. Invited them to be honored at the Dodger Stadium. Then when there was a howl of protest from Catholics and others, they disinvited them, good move. But then they re-invited them, and the re-invitation was accompanied by a kind of pathetic apology where they were praised for all the great work that they do. Now, look, I'm not going to go into all the details. Look them up on YouTube or something. You'd find what they do. I'll give you one example. I think it was on Easter Sunday. There was a display where they have Jesus on the cross, so the most sacred moment in history for Catholics. And a drag queen comes in and kind of pulls Jesus off the cross, then does a sort of pole dance on the cross. For Catholics, it's hard to imagine anything more offensive than that. Suppose this group had dressed up in a kind of simulacrum of a rabbi and had done something deeply disrespectful to the Torah, or take it a step further, had dressed, mockery of a Muslim cleric or imam, and then had desecrated the Quran. What would the reaction be? Those questions answer themselves, but somehow attacking Catholics in this most disgraceful way is okay. Not only okay, it should be honored. Everybody, I've said this before, but there's a long tradition in our country of anti-Catholicism. It was said famously, about a century ago, the last acceptable prejudice in America is anti-Catholicism. But we shouldn't tolerate it. One thing I would say, since the Dodgers clearly are not responding to a decent appeal to reason, I'd encourage my friends back in LA. Look, I was auxiliary bishop for 6 years in LA. I threw out the first pitch at a Dodgers game a few years ago. But I'd encourage my friends back there, boycott the Dodgers. May I say too, especially my Hispanic friends, many of whom are big baseball fans out there, this is your religion. This is the religion of your family, of your abuela and abuelo, of your familia, your tradición. Why are we tolerating this? We shouldn't be tolerating it. So let's pray, everybody. Let's pray for the defense of our faith, and let's stand for the Catholic faith.
Well, I think that was about as good a presentation by Bishop Barron as you can have of what happened. Quite reasonable, quite rational, but very, very powerful. And the bishop ultimately asked for a boycott so that the Dodgers feel the pain that Budweiser and Nike and Target and have from similar, in their case, attempts to groom young people to be transvestites. You should be aware of the fact that the left wing doesn't give you, and this is the reason why I feel so strongly about it. And I think the bishop and so many others, beyond the religious aspect of this, the more the more inclination and the more temptation and the more questions raised with young people about their sexuality, the more they're going to start questioning it. And the reality is that the overwhelming majority were not intended to change their sex. I mean, it's obviously a jarring thing, both to the psychological system and the biological system. You're physically one sex, and you mentally want to operate as the other. And then you start doing very, very dangerous things to your body, whether we're talking about taking hormones, which can be devastating, or even chopping off parts of your body, which you can never put back. Well over 80% of children who question their gender or their sexuality, however you want to look at it, remain with their original situation. So just think about, if you interrupt that, and that's the general rule, think of what you're doing to them. And we talk about suicide. The rate of suicide goes up dramatically for those who change or attempt to change their gender and their sexual organs. The rate of suicide goes up 4 or 5 times. So you're virtually killing these people in some kind of a strange effort to make people into transgender who were never intended to be, or to bring down this country, which may be the ultimate goal here. Ted, you had a question.
Well, not to make a bad night in baseball worse, but Justin Turner of the Red Sox just hit a grand slam over your New York Yankees, the New York Yankees.
What's the score now?
Make the score now 10-1, Red Sox.
Well, the Yankees don't deserve it. They haven't had a thing like this. But what the heck? It's baseball, and there's no doubt in my mind that the Yankees are a better team than the Red Sox. They're way ahead of them. So
And
I'm not too worried
but
about
bringing it back,
I'm
course,
only worried about the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm not worried about the Red Sox this year. I want to congratulate Nationals pitcher Trevor Williams, who wrote an excellent article on this. The man's a good writer, aside from being a good pitcher. And Dodger pitcher Blake Teenan, who also wrote an article on this. And actually, Williams sat down for an interview with the Catholic EWTN, and he made the points. That were made by the bishop. Also, was aware of the fact that the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence posted a blog in 2019. Another child sex offender discovered at Greg Queen story time. In other words, one of the people they brought to their story time to encourage young people to question their gender was, in fact, a sex offender. And the sisters frequently dress as Jesus, Mary, and other religious figures and brag about mocking the Stations of the Cross and even the Eucharist. The Dodgers uninvited them, then invited them back, knowing all of this, knowing that they carry on these mocking recreations of the most important sacraments and practices in the Christian and Catholic religion. There was no complaint about the Dodgers having a Pride night. And of course, the Pride people then threw in with the transgender people, which I think is a terrible mistake. A terrible mistake. The whole issue of gay marriage and gay love has been accepted rather tolerantly, I think, by people who, and that would include me, but people who have a long history of finding it difficult to accept and, frankly, finding it sinful. And for them now to side with people who spend their time mocking the strongly held beliefs of very, very conscientious people is a terrible, terrible thing to do. And the bullying that goes on, I mean, you wouldn't think that the Dodgers would be this weak and cowardly, but they are. And so are many of these multi-million and billion-dollar operations. As the article says, after the Dodgers caved in to the bullies and the other anti-Jesus bigots, basically what they're doing is undermining the values of respect and inclusivity that should be upheld by baseball organizations.
Mayor.
So let's take a look now at the video we have that'll give you, I just want to use one because I don't intend to give them too much attention, but I would like to show this video to show what a seriously sick and perverted group we're dealing with. And don't tell me about their charitable work. It is all a front in order to groom people to become perverts like them.
California lawmakers are set to honor a member of the trans nuns group, Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. And before I go on, I want to warn you that the following images may be considered graphic. That's just in case the young ones are watching. You've been warned. The group has been criticized for its anti-Catholic views and filmed ridiculing Christian beliefs, like giving Jesus a pole dance on the cross, for example, with a motto of, quote, go and sin some more. And despite this, the California State Legislature's LGBTQ caucus plans to honor one of the members, Sister Roma. So I reached out to the caucus for comments. No one responded yet, but on its website it says this: Sister Roma has helped raise well over $1 million for countless charities and LGBTQ organizations. Sister Roma is also a gay porn director and hosts a podcast, by the way. Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence is also at the center of a Los Angeles Dodgers controversy. The team invited the group to receive an award, but then uninvited them after backlash and then re-invited them. So the Dodgers is also hosting a Christian Faith Day now. But many are like, you know, just keep politics out of baseball, Will you please, right? And moreover, you'll remember with Target losing $14 billion in market value in 2 weeks due to boycotts over its LGBTQ merch for children.
Right.
And Anheuser-Busch losing more than $20 billion in 2 months after its Dylan Mulvaney ad. Seems like the people have spoken, right? So why do non-political companies and these organizations continue to pander to politics?
I think what we're seeing here is really the power that the LGBT lobby really has in this country, and it's immense.
So let me just summarize for the Getter people that this was a reporter who is with OAN now, but there's an Emmy-winning reporter who was doing this story, Alicia Summers, about background on them and what this perverted group does. And she showed in some detail, not great detail, the desecration of the crucifixion that was done on Easter, where a nude transvestite played Jesus and another nude transvestite jumped on the cross and played with each other's private parts. And then it led later to the being taken down from the cross and other lewd things being done, all to mock what we believe as Catholics and Christians was God's sacrifice of his only son to give us a method of expiating for our sins and finding a way to heaven. Why should Catholics be put through that? What are the Dodgers thinking? And you just can't put your head down and take it. You don't have to be violent. God forbid, no. But you can hit them where it hurts. Don't go to a Dodger game this year. I bet they don't repeat it next year if you do that. Want to bet? Look at what Budweiser did. Only way we're going to stop it and you're going to save your kids from being brainwashed into being perverts is to do something like this and to stand up strong. They're being brainwashed and being little communists anyway. Well, how about another different story? How about Wilson the rescue dog? Can we show Mr. Wilson? Let's show a nice picture of Mr. He's a Belgian Shepherd, otherwise known as a German Shepherd. You can see he's a German Shepherd. Look at that dog. Look how athletic he is.
Yeah, can you also hold him up for a Getter audience? I think it's worth showing.
Oh, we're not going to, I'll hold him up. Do you have him?
Yeah, we have him right here.
You have him on the screen now? Oh, there he is.
For Getter.
Wilson the rescue dog. Is he on for everybody now?
Yep.
But now if I move him, will they still see him?
Yes, I got it saved on the screen, but we got to show him for a Getter audience.
Okay. Here's Wilson. Say hello to Wilson.
Wow, look at that.
Isn't he a beautiful dog? Wouldn't you like to have him? Well, Wilson's missing right now, and I'm going to tell you his story. Let me show you his. Wilson is a professional. There he is again. There's Wilson again. Wilson is a professional. Wilson is a professional police dog. He can track drugs. He can track arms. And most importantly, his real expertise is tracking people. Back on May 1st, you may remember there was a plane crash in the Amazon. And the pilot died. The mother survived, but very, very badly injured, very seriously injured. And there were 3 children, a 9-year-old named Selene, a 9-year-old, a 5-year-old named Tian, and a baby girl named Kristen. Mama's name is Leslie Jacot-Bombert. Leslie Jacot-Bombert. So, I'm sorry, no, Leslie Jacot-Bombert is the fourth daughter who is 13 years old, obviously the leader. The mother was very, very badly injured and is still fighting for her life, by the way, since the rescue took place. But she knew she couldn't get her children to safety. And she also knew that particularly the older one had pretty good familiarity with the jungle, believe it or not. And she told them to be brave and to get to safety. Well, 40 days in the jungle, 40 days in the jungle, these children survived. And of course, there was a massive group out to search for them, which included Wilson, our hero. And Wilson broke away at one point, broke away from the crowd and ran. And lo and behold, he gets to them on my birthday, May 28th. And he stays with them for 3 days. And his being there make it easier for the trackers to find them, because they can now track both what they have of the children and what they have of the dog, because they figured that Wilson, being the brilliant rescue dog that he is, that Wilson, when he broke away, probably knew something. And unfortunately, on the way back, Wilson broke away again. And we are looking for Wilson. And why he ran away again, we don't know. Of course, there are a lot of spiritual connotations to it. We are talking, after all, about the Colombian jungle, the Amazon. But now they're trying to lure Wilson back. How do you think they're doing that, Wilson? They got some very pretty female dogs for you that they have out in the jungle in the Amazon. They got female dogs all over the place, figuring they're going to get you that way. And they got food all over the place. So Wilson, if you're listening, there's a lot of good things going to happen to you, babes. When you get back, you got a bunch of girlfriends that you're going to be like the hero. You're going to be the hero of all the dogs in Colombia.
Did your dogs throughout your life, Mayor, have you ever had a dog run away from you? Like get off its leash, man?
No. I had a dog who was a friend of mine. Not my dog. It was my friend's dog, who used to love to run away and then come back after 2 days. We had a pretty good idea of what he was doing when he ran away. This dog was not, how do you say, taken care of. He was my favorite dog, because that was my dog, a Labrador Retriever. He was a black lab. I had a white lab, but they're the same. I mean, they're just, generally it breaks down 40% white, 40% black, and 20% brown for labs.
Golden?
What about Goldens? They're very nice dogs. They're just not as smart.
That's different than a lab.
Yeah, they're very similar, though. They're both used quite a bit as tracking dogs, and also seeing eye dogs. But the preferred one is the lab, because the lab is both smart and a little more stubborn. The lab is less inclined to take a false move.
I'm surprised they didn't have something on this dog, like a little tracking chip, right? You got a rescue dog out in the forest. I have some more questions, Mayor. Could this be a conspiracy?
He's been drinking. 6 puppies have also been saved. I should let you know this. In Texas, as long as we're doing dogs and animals, in Texas, 6 puppies, Pyrenees mixed pooches, were discovered Wednesday when a passerby noticed them taped up to a corrugated box dumped by the side of the road in Waco, Texas. They taped them. And the person who was able to save them for the Fuzzy Friends Rescue Shelter says how evil a person's heart has to be able to leave 6 puppies taped in a box with no means of escape. Yep. We spend a lot of time on this show dealing with evil people.
Abhorrent.
Right. But the Belgian Shepherd is out there, and I really do believe that they're going to find him. 2 of the children, I made little drawings of them, and if I get a picture of them, I'll show them to you either on our Sunday show with Dr. Maria, or I'll show it to you on, well, I can't show it to you that show. So I'll show it to you on Monday if I can get a picture. Now here's the height of insanity and also proof that Biden is completely responsible for this ridiculous, unbelievable record-setting group of illegal immigrants coming into this country. And it's not only a record-setting illegal immigrants coming in, it's the least vetted group of immigrants coming into this country we've ever had, which means we don't know who they are. Even the ones that we theoretically vet, we don't vet. And then many people get in we never get to see, or we see them and they run away. Well, obviously, we do no vetting of them. They make up probably 50 to 100% of the number that are actually stopped. The number that are stopped, we get very little information about them too. So when these people are moved into your neighborhood, put next to you, or you're being asked to put them in your house, like Mayor Adams said, you have no idea who they are. I mean, they could be people looking for, 5% legitimately are seeking refuge, meaning fleeing political persecution. The rest are lying and have been told to say that by the Mexican cartels that run it. But this will prove to you that the Mexican cartels run it. Do you see this, what I'm showing you here? This is the front page of the New York Post. These are advertisements on TikTok. Very well done advertisements. You couldn't tell them from, the ones that we do or other people do. And this is from the drug smugglers. And they are having a little price war about, getting you in. This is a $10,000 offer here to bring people in. You can see it right there Maybe if I put it here, some people will see it better. You can see it right there on the iPhone or mobile phone that there's the advertisement. You hook up with the smuggler, and the smuggler brings you in, having made all kinds of false promises to you. You have a job, you have a home, you have this, you have that, you have that. You got nothing. You got nothing but the goodwill of Sucker America, right? Which has to run out after a period. We can't take all of the world's poor without making our own people poorer. I mean, at some point, you got to grow up and stop being a silly liberal, because silly liberals get people killed. Now, there's also another discovery that was made, which will give you an idea that we're dealing with here, once again, for the ghetto people and everybody else. And once again, to show that we're dealing with a highly sophisticated group, they have made their own FedEx trucks, and they're bringing people in FedEx trucks so that they don't get as much scrutiny at the border. Some actually stop at the border. Some evade the border completely. But then when they come into the United States, they're not seen as a suspect, anything. Once they're in the United States, nobody's going to stop them. So this is all due to Biden's open border policy, in which our border patrol is no longer a border patrol. It's a group of welcome personnel who do everything they can to get you in quickly with the least amount of checking on who you are, so they can put you next to somebody that you may kill. And they would have no idea if you were just let out of a mental institution or you're the principal of a high school. They don't even bother to ask. And that's why we have these horrendous things happening, and why a city like New York is being destroyed, because we have a mayor that wants to make New York the best sanctuary city in the world. So every one of these people wants to come here, except now he's bankrupting the city. He's got 80,000 of these people here. They're being treated better than Americans, including our veterans. And he's got an unbelievable problem where he's beginning to challenge de Blasio as the worst mayor in New York history. And if he keeps it up, he will be the worst. There was an article today saying that. Well, we're going to need Trump to stop this. It's simple. All the solutions. Adams, has all he wants Biden to give him money, more money, more money, more money, more money. He wants to get them jobs, which will bring even more in. The answer is they can't come in. They can't come in. You can't think of it as your house, right? Think of it as your house. You can't let everybody in your house. And you want to know who's coming in your house. You don't want Mexican drug dealers, human traffickers, rapists, and murderers vetting the people that come into your house, do you? And you don't want the number to be unlimited because you have a limited amount of space in your house. So if you are going to take people in your house, you're going to have some rules about who you want, what you want, and how many you can take. Otherwise, they're all going to come in, and then everybody's going to be destroyed, and you're not doing anybody a favor. Sometimes the ability to think and make a comparison to something else can illustrate the stupidity of what you're doing. This is something that liberals lack, that ability to think that way flexibly, because they get locked into silly ideas and notions, and then they all have to support the same thing or they're canceled.
Well, Mayor, should we take a moment and hear from our friend Kirk Elliott, double PhD, and then come back with some more?
I think we should. Faith and family, freedom and finance are four things that we would do anything to protect. I trust the team at Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors, with providing the advice and sound strategies to take advantage of the inflationary pressures, the high interest rates, and the international challenges we face today. The Kirk Elliott team, with over 29 years of experience, shares our values and believes in people over profit. They can help you protect your finances from the big government policies that are out of our control. So what's in our control? The decision to act or not to act is within our control. I encourage you to act. Call Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors today. Start working with a team that will help you protect your retirement assets with gold and silver while sharing your desire to protect your faith, family, and freedom. Call them today, 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, and tell them Rudy sent you. Or simply fill out a request for a free consultation at kirkelliottphd.com/Rudy. About that as soon as we get back, because they're in very similar situations. The first one I think you will know about. This is Daniel Penny. Back around May 1st or so, I think it was, he was on the subway, and this man named Jordan Neely got on the train, who has 45 arrests, many of them for violent assaults on the subway and similar things. He got on the subway and he began cursing at everyone, yelling, screaming, throwing trash at them, and telling them he was going to kill them. At some point, he gets in front of Mr. Penny, whose picture I think you see there. And Mr. Penny is a Marine, just out of the Marines. And he makes a choice when he sees this man violently take his jacket off and sort of move in the direction of children, that this man is going to hurt them. And plus, the whole train is frightened to death. In fact, the witnesses have come forward to the newspapers saying, except for Mr. Penny, we thought we were going to die. So Mr. Penny interferes. He grabs him. He holds him in a headlock, which they've elected to call a chokehold. I'm looking at it here. It's hard to see. It seems to me, and I'm going to show you this, and Ted, you're going to have to help and try to get, because then I'm gonna show you the other gentleman who had a similar situation. His name is also Jordan Williams. But right now, I want to show you how Mr. Penny put Mr. Neely in the headlock. If you can just point down on that one right there, you'll notice that the inner part of the arm. Now, I can't tell you this definitively. I'd have to see better pictures, and they're not making them available, nor have they made the toxicology report on this career criminal available. The arm seems to be up here, not here. So I don't know. It was quickly determined that it was a chokehold. I would think his lawyers are going to seriously object to that and want to do a very, very strong and accurate forensic analysis of that photo. Because as I look at that photo,
What do you see in that photo?
What I see in that photo is, let me move over here if I may. I hope you can hear me as well. I see the elbow up around the beard. I don't see the elbow here. Watch me. I see it this way, not this way. This way. The chokehold would be here.
Yep.
Which would cut off the windpipe.
Yep.
This appears to be more grasping the chin.
Yep.
Which is what he said he thought he did.
Yep.
Also, he said, and I think it's corroborated by the witnesses, that he was breathing during the time that he had him. So the chokehold hadn't choked him. So Mr. Penny is being charged by the same unscrupulous political Soros paid for prosecutor, Bragg, that's prosecuting President Trump for a non-crime. He's being prosecuted for manslaughter in the first degree, and they want to put him in jail for 20 or 30 years. When in fact, I said if I were the mayor of the city, I would give him an award for having protected the people on the train from a man who was surely going to do them harm, as he did to a 67-year-old woman, a 69-year-old man, as he did to the little girl that he kidnapped. 45 crimes in a short period of time is certainly a crime machine, which is who he is dealing with. Also, it says a lot to me that two other people volunteered to help him. They must have thought he was doing the right thing. You can see them. You can see one of them in the picture. You might not be able to see the other. Now, if you move a little further over to here, there you see Jordan. You see Jordan Williams. Now, Mr. Williams, take that so that the getter people can see that too.
Just hold that up for a second. I'll zoom in here just so the getter. What is he doing?
Well, he was just arrested here, but he was on a train. He was on a train with his girlfriend, which was on Marcy Avenue in Williamsburg, part of Brooklyn. And this man came in, again, a man with a criminal record. And I should tell you that Mr. Williams, this young man, has a very clean record. He does not have a criminal record. And this man, whose name is a little hard to pronounce, it's DeVictor Quadrago.
Oh my goodness.
DeVictor Quadrago, who was 36. Mr. Williams is 20. And Mr. Quadrago immediately made vicious comments toward the girlfriend, and repeatedly, and then socked her in the face. That's the way it's described, socked her in the face. The young man came to her defense, and they began fighting. And at one point, the younger man, meaning Mr. Williams, pulled out a knife and knifed him. And later on, he died. So he was arrested and charged also with manslaughter and criminal possession of a dangerous weapon, namely the knife. By the way, people are not just killed with guns. You might just note that. So aren't we looking at two cases of self-defense in a city that doesn't seem to be able to police the subways like I did? I mean, the subway crime over 2 years, and since Adams has been in office, this year it's gone down a little bit over a 2 or 3 year period. Subway crimes have gone up, and the nature of them have become enormously frightening. People thrown on the tracks, people killed for no reason, and then a tremendous amount of what you hear there, which is people coming on and terrorizing the people on the subway. The response, the response from Mr. Penny has been overwhelming by the public. 67% believe that he should not have been prosecuted. I would imagine be very, very similar for Mr. Williams. It's hard to say which of the two situations is more justifiable. Both are for different reasons. In the case of Mr. Williams, the man had already attacked his girlfriend, and therefore he could easily conclude that the guy was going to attack again. And in what happened when they were fighting, it might be that the other man was overpowering him, and he was in fear of his life, which is why he used a knife. In the case of Mr. Penny, he did not use a weapon, which would be kind of to his advantage. But in Mr. Penny's case, the crime hadn't exactly happened yet, and he anticipated it. And but it did happen in the sense that garbage was thrown at people, which is an assault. Threats were made to kill people, which is a crime. And he took his jacket off in what is often a prelude to a further physical attack. So I would say these cases are very, very similar with slight differences because of the knife or the actual completed attack on her. Although, they keep saying there weren't crimes completed by Mr. Neely. The garbage he was throwing at people all involve an assault. And it's remarkable how immediately the Al Sharptons and wanted Mr. Penny tried for murder. The fact that he's charged with manslaughter isn't enough for them. Now, let's see what their reaction will be, given the fact that Mr. Williams is black and Mr. Penny is white. There should be no reaction, by the way. No reaction. The lawyer for Mr. Williams raised race immediately because Penny was released on $100,000 bond, and no bond was set immediately for Mr. Williams, but it was set a day later at exactly the same. So he tried to create a racial incident, the lawyer did, but wasn't able to. But now the question is, and I'm not worried about the justice system, I'm more worried about the press. Let's see how the press, so far, there hasn't been the kind of activity that they had for Mr. Neely, demanding that he be prosecuted and demanding that he be prosecuted for murder. I hope it doesn't. I'm not hoping it happens, but I think we would note if it didn't, that there is a difference, that we're just being silly if we avoid it. So we'll see how they play out. It's kind of interesting that they're going to play out at very much the same time. So how much closer are the Bidens to going to prison? I mean, they should have been in prison 3 or 4 years ago. It's really dragging out now. Looks like the prosecutor is getting to talk to Devin Archer, who was Hunter's criminal conspirator. He was convicted, Devin was, of a crime that allegedly was not associated with Hunter, although there are texts and conversations on the hard drive that suggest that Devin did think that Hunter was involved and was kept out of it because he was Hunter, and that he was being made the fall guy. So let's see what happens and how Devin would be involved in not all, but in many of these situations. He was a complete partner in Ukraine and in the fixing of the case in Ukraine. fully knowledgeable about what Joe's real role in it was, completely knowledgeable about Joe being involved in all these foreign transactions and being part of the money, being part of the money situation. He also was involved in the Russian 3.5 million from Yelena Butarina, again another Russian criminal that they got money from, which took place. That transfer took place on February 14, 2014, in Lake Como in Italy. They went to nice places. Butarina was at dinner with the vice president on April 16th of 2015. And so was the executive, number 2 executive of Burisma, the company theoretically he knew nothing about. And then there were pictures of another group of business types, business representatives that Joe never met, but pictures of him with the 2 of them that we have. I mean, there's no doubt that Joe is lying, and there's no doubt because Hunter tells you directly he gave half the money to his father for 30 years. So let's cut the bull, huh? When the hell are we going to put him in jail? We got a traitor sitting in the White House. I mean, they weren't just taking money; they were selling out the United States. What the hell are they doing with China? Am I stupid? Now, who do we have?
Well, Mayor, we want to take a quick call. Our first guest tonight, we are going to go to our friend. Well, I believe this is his first time on our show. We have Brad. Brad is calling us from the great state of Oregon. Brad, are you there? Brad.
Hello, Brad.
I gave him the whole. Hey, Brad, are you with us?
Brad from Oregon.
All right, Brad, you are on. Let's see if we can hear Brad here. Go ahead, Brad. You should hear you now.
Oh, I'd just like to.
Now you can hear us?
I can hear you now, Brad. How are you?
Oh, really good, Rudy. Just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you, the family, and all here in Astoria, Oregon.
Well, that is so nice. You have an Astoria in Oregon, just like we do in New York.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yes, yeah. You just keep on impressing me. So, really enjoy what you're doing. So,
Thank you. What are you most concerned about, Brad?
well, of course, the FBI and
Yeah,
CIA,
you should be.
all the outfits out there that just are kind of on their own, and I think we're slipping into a dictatorship. So,
Wow.
It's,
I wish I could tell you were wrong, Brad. I wish I could tell you were wrong, but you're not. We have a way out of it. It's called the 2024 elections, right?
oh, for sure, we worked really hard. I was out there and talked to a lot of people back in. Well, of course, 2016, I thought we were on our way through 2020 real easy, and all of a sudden it just flipped on us all. So
Yeah, gee, I wonder what
it's hard to
happened.
take. Yeah.
Well, we got to make sure that doesn't happen again. But thank you very, very much, Brad, and stick with us, okay? We got a long way to go to the 20 to November of 2024, and it's really important that we all stick together and have the right information, and particularly as we get into the election, the recommendations we're going to have for election security. So now we're calling. We're talking. We're not calling. They're calling us.
We are now, Mayor. We're going to go to Joe in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Hello, Joe.
Is this Mr. Mayor?
Yes, this is the mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
Mr. Mayor, I was just wondering, what are the chances of President Trump getting a Fatico type hearing in the Miami case, in the federal case in Florida?
They exist. I believe that there'll be a number of motions pro forma, things that have to be corrected and things that have to be learned and details that have to be picked up. There'll be a number of those, but I really do think there'll be a very, very significant motion made to have the case dismissed. and it'll be because I've never seen a case either individually or when you combine it with the other cases that it's a part of, where there's been as much criminal conduct on the part of the prosecution as here. And you can't consider this case in a vacuum. This is chapter 5 so far of Frame Donald Trump. And it's inextricably combined with the original chapter, which was Russian collusion, which we know was actually a crime on the part of the Democrats. They paid for and put together a false scenario, and they attempted to use it to remove a lawfully elected president, which, gosh, if that isn't espionage, I don't know what it is. Then they did the same thing with the conversation with the president of Ukraine, which was no bribe at all. In fact, by withholding the evidence that we now have, they didn't give the president the exculpatory evidence that would have justified what he did and made the impeachment ridiculous and would have led to the prosecution of the Widens instead of him. Then we had the hard drive that was suppressed in probably the worst censorship in the history of America. Then we have the elections themselves, and you can make your own conclusion about those. And now we have this these two absolutely stupid cases. The one in New York about something that happened 7 or 8 years ago, which involved a non-disclosure situation with a woman, of which there are about 2 million in New York that have never been prosecuted and under prosecute. It's a deal that's made by 2 consenting adults. Got nothing to do with the government. It's got nothing to do with me or you. It has to do with him, the woman, their families. I can't think of anyone ever prosecuted for it. And similarly, the thing they're prosecuting for in Washington, not only haven't they prosecuted people for it, we know of situations far worse than his that weren't prosecuted. Supposedly there are 120 documents, and he didn't give them back fast enough. He didn't show them to any spies. He didn't jeopardize them with any enemies of the United States. He didn't destroy them. Hillary Clinton destroyed 33,000 of those documents. She smashed up the machine that yielded the documents like a mafia figure. Joe Biden took his documents, of which there were many, many more. He took them out as a senator, for which there's no justification at all. It's just the mere fact that he took them out as a crime. And then where did he put them? He didn't put them in Mar-a-Lago. He didn't put them in his house and be careless with them in his house. No, what he did was he put some in Chinatown. And he put two other groups in an institute that's funded by China. And he left the ones at home in the garage that his son passed every day, who at the time was in close contact with the chief spy of China. So very coincidentally, during the time he was receiving $31 million from China, he was leaving these secret documents in places where China had access. Tell me that isn't much more serious than what Trump did. He's not even been investigated for it. So you can't do this in America unless you want to split this country right down the middle. You can't have 2 systems of justice. And just because you don't think you can defeat Trump, look, the reason they're doing it is because they know how crooked they are. And they know that he's the one person that's going to reveal it. I was told by a prosecutor in Ukraine, if you ever get to the bottom of this, it's going to be a lot more than just the Bidens. And that's why you've got fear and trembling in Washington. That's what's going on. So they'll do anything to stop him because it's going to mean the end for them. And it better be the end because we don't have a country left if we don't get rid of them. I mean, they've given us away to China.
That's true.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. And you have a great weekend, huh? And a great Father's Day.
You too. You too, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I wish all of you a great Father's Day. I urge you, if you have the chance on Sunday, Father's Day, between 10 and 11, Dr. Maria and I are going to be doing our show uncovering the truth. And then between 2 and 3, my son Andrew and I on WABCradio.com will be conducting a Father's Day interview where he will be talking about our personal lives to the extent that it's appropriate, I guess. But it's really fun. And to see your son being so good at it makes you so proud.
Well, Mayor, let's take one more call. Let's go to Vincent. Vincent's calling us. I believe you're in the great state of New York. Is that right?
Okay, Long Island, New York. Vincent?
Vincent, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Well,
All
now
right, you're live on with Mayor Giuliani.
So what's up,
How you
Vincent?
doing, Mr.
Your connection's a little weak.
No, we're doing fine, Vincent. You just tell us what you want to know.
This is what I want to know, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure that you're pretty close with President Trump.
I am.
What I want to find out is, does President Trump have a way of combating what the Democrats are going to be using to flip more votes in 2024?
Yes. He
You know
does.
they're going to be using Dominion.
Well, let's leave Dominion out of it. There are many, many ways to deal with the kind of thing they did last time when you're prepared for it. And also to anticipate that they'll try a few more tricks that we'll be prepared
A few
for.
more tricks. Wow.
Oh, yeah, of course, they've got more tricks up their sleeves. The Democrat Party has been cheating on elections since before even I was born. So they're really good at it. And when they tell you you can't say that, that's all part of the same thing as hiding the hard drive or calling me a Russian agent because I revealed the hard drive. That's it. They want to intimidate you so you don't talk about the stolen election. But, they can intimidate a lot of people, and Fox has, become useless.
Well, they're sure not going to intimidate me.
They don't intimidate me either, Vincent. They tried. They tried everything they can.
We really need to get him back.
Well, I know we do. We need it for the country. More important than
For
him,
sure.
more important than me or you, for the country and for our kids. But thanks,
Absolutely.
Vincent. Are you a father,
My pleasure,
Vincent?
Mr. Mayor. No, I am not.
Well, I wish your father a happy Father's Day then.
He's kind of gone.
Well, I still wish him a happy Father's Day because he's.
You're some kind of guy, Mr. Mayor. I love you, man.
Well, Vincent, thank you. You sound like a very good person and a very conscientious person. And, you, Vincent, and all the rest of you make up the vast majority of Americans. And we've had enough. We've really had enough. I know we have. I know it. I know we've had enough. They've hit on the things that are most important to us. I think maybe trying to take our children away from us was the one that really, really, it should have also told us that this is communist inspired. It isn't just accidental. And now this stuff with that we were talking about today with this transvestite trying to convince kids that there's a separation between sex and gender for large numbers of people, which there aren't. That situation, which is considered and has always been considered an abnormality that should be treated compassionately and sensibly and scientifically, is now being used as and confusion about it, which does take place in a large percentage of children. And then the 80% of those children resolve it in favor of remaining what they are. Now, a lot of those children who would not necessarily do things that are irreversible, like take off their breasts or their penis. Not only are they being led to do it, they're being led to do it before they're 18, and in many cases without telling their parents.
Well,
that idea, that whole thing, is absolutely a product of communism. That and Nazism. Control of the kids. Hitler, Stalin. 2 years old, going to get those damn kids. We'll tell them what sex they are. We'll tell them what they're going to do. We're going to put them in what we need them for, not what they want to do. Then we can have an efficient state where everybody can be treated equally, except us, because we're going to be multi-billionaires in beautiful homes and mansions, which is what the communist leaders all are.
Well, Mayor, we are well into soccer time on another very fast-paced week. From President Trump's call to our simulcast while you went on live with Newsmax, I would say it was quite the week. Of course, we asked people to join you on your Twitter account and hit that subscribe button for just $10 a month. That comes to 33 cents a day. You'll have access to exclusive content from the mayor, but more importantly, you'll be a part of our ongoing fight. And of course, the mayor kind of leading the charge, if you think about it, on the just vast array of issues and problems that we face as a nation. So, Mayor, what is your I guess we'll call them your closing thoughts. I think we have to be careful with the wording so we don't overlap with WABC's final thoughts. What are your thoughts this week?
My closing thoughts are that we're facing tremendous challenges. There's a tremendous amount at stake. Our freedom is at stake. Our way of life is at stake. But I'm feeling good about the fight back of the American people. I'm feeling good about what I hear and what I see in my travels and discussions. And I think that I don't know that we've passed a point of no return, but I do think that the American people have now been engaged in a recognition of what is actually going on and the problems that we have with a president who is an exceedingly bad man, been taking bribes all his life, sold out his country, sold out his religion, sold out his family, or brought his family along with him as criminals. And now he doesn't even know who the hell he is. Yesterday, he told us he was going to build a railroad across the Indian Ocean.
Oh, we have that. Let's play that.
Shall we end with that so they're reminded of what a demented
I'm glad you brought that up, Mayor,
creep we have in the White House?
We had that ready today.
And how is he not impeached?
So here's our genius president in what would be the greatest feat of all time.
This is the man who could destroy the world.
Listen to this genius idea.
And we're going to help. We have plans to build a railroad from the Pacific all the way across the Indian Ocean. We have plans to build in Angola.
One more time.
Yeah, one more. Can I do it?
And we're going to help. We have plans to build a railroad from the Pacific all the way across the Indian Ocean. We have plans to build in Angola.
Mayor, what is that?
That's a man that belongs in a nursing home. That's what it is. It's a man that's suffering from a definable illness called dementia, and it's an illness. It's an illness that gets
Can I call
worse.
you right back, Andrew, in like 2 minutes?
It's an illness that gets worse, and it is getting worse. So, my final thoughts are: make sure you listen to Uncovering the Truth on Sunday at 10, Andrew and Rudy Giuliani at 2, and pick up the podcast. The podcast is an interview with my son, Andrew, and we cover a lot of the things we were not able to cover in the radio show, and you get to know us a little better personally, and we'll get to know you a little better personally, which is why I'd love to see you subscribe both to the podcast on RudyGiulianiCS.com and subscribe on Twitter so that you can help us build this organization so we have something really massive in time for the next election, because that's what we're working on. And we'll roll out even more plans for that. And we're now in discussions to see if we can expand this platform even more. And we've been growing like leaps and bounds because of you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I love you. God bless you, and God bless America. Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.